Hello, my friends. I'm going to get into several different things in this video. And the first of things that I'm going to speak about is the reprobate mind of the church and how it has led to people who know that something is coming or is here. And I'm even speaking of this window that I had spoken about in the previous videos, that something is here and now, or something is imminently coming, or something is just right around the corner for coming. That something is here, even if people don't know exactly what, or what to expect, or where to even look. That's what a reprobate mind does. Jesus calls for a mind of wisdom to understand these things. So, in other words, you're prioritizing one thing from another. You're able to rightly divide what is important and what is not so important. And the reprobate mind is unable to do this. So let me show you what the reprobate mind does as far as the church is concerned. They will look at all the signs of Israel, physical Israel. They'll be looking at their feast days. They'll be looking at Passover, Hanukkah, Feast of Trumpets, so on and so forth. So they're looking at Israel. And then at the same time, they're also looking at the feast days of Christianity, like Easter and Christmas and Good Friday and everything else that goes along with Christian feast days. So they're looking at one set of feast days, and then they're looking at another set of feast days, and then they're looking at this calendar. Well, here's the Israeli, here's the Hebrew calendar, here's the Gregorian calendar, here's this calendar, here's that calendar. They're looking at all these calendars. They're looking at all these different Bible versions. Well, we only go with King James authorized, or we only go with this one, or we only go with that one. They're looking at all these different things as if there is the same level of importance for them all. Whenever the Lord said, I come as a sword and I come to divide one from another, the sheep from the goats, in me there is life, outside of me there is nothing, meaning if you don't have the Lord, you will be lost. Even if you do have the Lord, if you're going after other gods, you're going to be confused by those other gods because those other gods are not Him. And you can see this reprobate mind playing out all through your society and your culture. And the greatest example that the Spirit has given me to understand this. If you are legally married to somebody and you are faithful to your spouse, you do not have a certain set of cares and concerns, like trying to account for missing time because you're going to visit your lover, or trying to plan days where you can go see your lover while your spouse isn't home, trying to guard your phones and your computers and everything else from your spouse, because if they saw it, they would see what's going on. There is a major amount of inconveniences that come when you're cheating on a spouse. And you can just go on TikTok and all these other places that these people all watch, and you can see that all play out right in front of you. How many people are inconvenienced by their own lifestyle? As if you're faithful to your bride or your husband, you don't have any of those things to worry about. Thus, the cares and the anxiety are down at a minimal point. But imagine if you're trying to have your legal spouse and then another lover on the side and then another lover on the side. You're bound to get things confused because humans cannot balance and juggle things. That is a reprobate mind functioning. It is laying on all these different burdens to itself that's complicating their own lives, making them inconvenienced by it all. And you look at the people who are telling you about all these signs and wonders from other gods, not Jesus, because you're either with Jesus and believe in the Messiah or you're not, meaning you either walk with one and believe He is the only way, or everybody else has a way too and you accept it. If you just follow Jesus and His way, believe that the third temple is already risen in your own body because it's in your heart, it takes away all these other things that make it inconvenient in order to see the signs that are actually important to you. So we go to this doomsday clock, which you see up on my phone. This was created and maintained since 1947. And it's a metaphor, as it says here, for threats to humanity from unchecked scientific and technological advances. Basically, this was made because of the nuclear weapons that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It all came because of nuclear weapons. we then had the ability and the power to destroy ourselves for the first time, perhaps in our history, or perhaps since at least the days of Noah, that we know of. By that, you create a system to where you can judge the likelihood of that destruction, and you call it a clock. And what symbolizes the moment of destruction on that clock? The midnight hour. And you go, of course, to Matthew 25, and you can see what that midnight hour looks like. You have the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins. The foolish virgins are foolish because they're unable to differentiate between something that Jesus said that's important or something that they're looking at otherwise from another God because it didn't come through Jesus. If you look through any of the old feast days that the Lord long tired of, and told you this multiple times in Scripture, if you're looking at all these feast days and all these different things relating to physical Israel that was born of the world, the United Nations, who openly reject Jesus, who is the Messiah, and you're looking at all the things that they're doing, you're going to be confused by it because you're going to add in hundreds of more signs that didn't need to be added on. You're going to be looking at this day, looking at that day, looking at this, looking at that, and nothing, whenever it comes that is actually the sign that you saw that was important, you'll minimize it because you've already looked at so many other dates. Just like somebody who's unfaithful has already looked at all these other women or all these other men, or already cheated on their spouse with all these other women or all these other men. They've become unfaithful, which makes them unprofitable, which means that when something comes that they should be looking at, they see it, but they've already saw thousands of other things and it came and passed. So everybody that follows them is along the same lines. They've already went through this whole process with them. It's like they're stuck in a circular motion because that's a reprobate mind. Was this the midnight hour that Jesus was actually speaking of? Because we know in the end comes destruction, comes the tribulations. Was this perhaps the midnight hour that the Lord was speaking of? And you go back to 1947, what happened in 1948? Well, there's the signs they're looking at. They're looking at a third temple that is going to be built by human hands that's going to fulfill something of God. Whenever I'm looking at my own temple in my heart, which the Spirit dwells, to understand that I'm seeing 1947, well, they're also seeing 1947, but I don't have to have anything related to physical Israel deal with me. So when I see something that's a clock, the midnight hour is known as the destruction, and I see what Jesus said in Matthew 25 about the midnight hour with the foolish and the wise virgins, I can kind of put things together to understand this is a bigger sign than what physical Israel is. Because this says exactly what the Lord said. At the midnight hour, 5 will awake, light their lamps, and go up to the Lord. Well, 5 will not. They will go out, buy and sell, like you see all the people doing in the world right now, all the church of the reprobate mind, the circular buying and selling of each other's words, not God's words. Well, the wise ones will go up to meet the Lord in the air at the midnight hour, because the midnight hour is the destruction. And interestingly enough, they're going to reevaluate this calendar and put out another announcement about this calendar, scheduled for January 24th, 2023, about a week from now, which falls in the same exact box period of time that we see the comet passing overhead of us, that's within the same generation since the clock was started in 1947, that's within the same generation that Jesus said, you will see all of these things, and when you do, you know that the end has come. It's within the same window, the same frame of time. All of it right now happening. So you look at this particular period of time. You can go back to 9/11, 21 to 22 years ago, everything that happened from then. And if you look back at when sorrows would begin, after the gospel was spread to the whole world, the internet and missionaries made sure that happened. The Christian nations set out missionaries to the last corners that the internet couldn't reach. It definitely happened. And looking back on that, you can look back to the year 2000 and then look to now, and you can see how everything changed within that same window. that now we're looking at 119 tomorrow, well within the sign of the comet, within the sign of the generation of 1947, which is called the midnight hour because of their doomsday clock, which all the signs that Jesus spoke of, such as the earthquakes and the division and the love growing cold and the wars and the rumors of wars, is all happening, and it has been intensifying since the gospel was spread to the whole world 20-some years ago. So we're looking at the same exact window, period of time, where all of these things are joined as one sign. Is this that sign that we are all to expect? Is something going to happen within these next couple of days or couple of weeks or tomorrow? I cannot be certain until it does, for I just walk and I can see things that are coming without understanding exactly when it is going to happen, because the Lord is not physically here with us. We're doing this all using a mind of wisdom, which the Lord is in us. But we're using our minds of wisdom to figure these things out. And I can put all of these there into one sign, rather than lead you down to 40 different feast days and this day and that day and this number and that number. I can put it all into one moment of time, which is now, that would fulfill everything written that Jesus spoke of the times of the end. And I don't have to do it by cheating on my husband with other wives out there. I don't need to go to another god, such as the God of Israel, which is Satan. And I'm not talking about the Israel that is Israel, those who call themselves Christians, the only ones eligible for the new covenant. I'm talking about the ones who sit in physical Israel right now, Revelation 3:9. I could go after that God. I could go after the God of the Catholics, which is an elegant demon, as the Pope so declared it. Said an elegant demon dwells within the Vatican. I could go after that elegant demon and look at their feast days and look at their Bible. Or I could just look at everything Jesus said, using my own mind that he has given anyone who follows him. In these times of the end, with the Spirit poured out, you can gather that mind and see for yourself all of these things coming to pass and lining up. Rather than look to everywhere else, if we just use that mind and just logically look at things and say, wow, Jesus said this and this has happened, that has to mean something. Without going and trying to fulfill 50 other signs that aren't even connected to Jesus, it makes things much less complicated, now doesn't it? It takes all those burdens and weights off the back when you just listen to Jesus and the things he spoke of, rather than trying to do all of these other things that were not important concerning his coming. The Lord didn't say, hey, watch out for my feast days or watch out for this day. He told you specifically what to watch out for and lined them up specifically. That's all you need to look at. You don't need to look at anything else to understand the coming of the Lord. You just use your mind to see the signs that he spoke of, and you see it happening all around you. And I tell you, this window that we're sitting in right now, with the comet passing by, all the connections to everything that Jesus spoke about, and now the midnight hour, the doomsday clock, changing on the 24th, within the same 75-year period, the same generation, I look at this, and I tell you what I do right now as I'm sitting here talking to you, this to you today. Today's January 18th. Today is actually my birthday. And whenever I woke up this morning, the first thing that hit me, whenever I understood, today's my birthday, I'm speaking about all of these things that are coming over the next couple of days. And I said, is this the calm before that storm? Do I get today, on my birthday, to witness the calm before the destruction comes tomorrow? So what I'm doing today, on my birthday, is I watch all of the Bible, all of the Word of God play out in front of me. I plan for Friday to come. I plan for Saturday to come. I plan for Sunday to come. I have a house. I have children. I have things that I have to upkeep, and I will continue to do that. I will plan to still have my Sunday come. But I'm telling you right now, I don't expect it. And I believe anybody who is truly walking with the Lord in these days right now, the ending days of sorrow, I believe you're doing the same exact thing. Because although we don't know exactly when to expect him, neither did the bride know exactly when her bridegroom was going to come and pick her up. She just knew it was going to be soon, very soon, and it was going to be around that midnight hour, so she was ready and prepared when he came. How does one get ready and prepared? Well, you stop chasing after other gods. That's one way. It's all inconveniences to you because you'll tie yourself down with 1,000 things that aren't really a sign that you're supposed to be looking at from the one God. Get rid of all of those things. Get rid of everybody talking about other gods and other things and other signs because they're not necessary. And just look at what Jesus said and believe it. And you can see all of that all around you today as I look up. We're in this particular window. It fulfills everything. I plan for my Friday to come, but I do not expect it. God bless.